may feel like a year ago feels like that to me, but the week started with the Trump administration releasing a memo that appeared to freeze all government spending. And that means every loan, every grant, all of it. They claimed the pause was intended to root out, and this is a direct quote because I can't make this up, Marxist equity, transgenderism, and Green New Deal social engineering policies, whatever that means. And sure, that might have sounded great to some MAGA diehards. I'm sure that's who it was written for. And some very online Republicans, just like deleting the entire FBI or 3/4 of it might sound good. But when that funding freeze actually happened, people across this country understandably freaked out. I mean, just listen to what local newscasts sounded like in the hours and days after that order.
The words that local agencies gave me today, chaotic and confusing.
Chaos and confusion.
Mass confusion.
Confusion. Even more confusion.
Widespread disruption in healthcare research, education programs, and other initiatives.
Several states, including Utah, reported error messages like this, warning of delays and/or rejections of payments.
Some Kansas City public service agencies couldn't access their federal fund portals.
Many local organizations tell us they are facing now an uncertain future.
If there's no change in the order, starting Monday, February 3rd, the building will be closed to children and staff.
You may have to lay people off or furlough them.
$14 million worth of projects that were coming into Kanawha County are on hold.
We really don't know what to expect. It's very scary.
It turns out, I mean, even when people are mad at Washington or mad at Congress, they like the stuff government does. It turns out people need the stuff government does in their communities. And the Trump White House did not seem to have any idea whatsoever what they'd done or the impact it might actually have. I think I'm sensing a bit of a theme here. How about you? Now, the next day, facing backlash from the American people and a federal judge, the White House kind of, sort of rescinded the memo, kind of, sort of, intentionally, in my view, making the situation even more confusing. And you may still be confused. But the whole thing was in keeping with their plan to just gut the federal government. And trust me, the thing is, the story is far from over. Because on Friday, a longtime, well-respected Treasury official was forced out of his job after a dispute with Elon Musk over granting him access to the federal payment system that is essentially the country's entire checkbook. I mean, the system is so sensitive that typically only a very small number of career officials have access to it. Paychecks to federal workers go through it. Social Security checks and tax refunds go through it. And sensitive personal information about everyone who gets those payments is in there, too. Well, yesterday, we learned that Elon Musk and his Doge posse have now been granted access to that federal payment system. So, yeah, I know this all sounds scary. And I'm not here to minimize the impacts of a president gutting the federal government and taking a wrecking ball to the Department of Justice. But that's why we're going to keep talking about it. Luckily, I do think the country is realizing just how important government can be. And all it took, I hate that this is the case, was a president trying to stop everything the government does. Joining me now is Democratic Congressman Jamie Raskin of Maryland. He's the ranking Democrat on the House Judiciary Committee. He knows a lot about a lot of things, is my summary, too. I have so many things I want to ask you about, but I just want to start with this purge of FBI officials and January 6th prosecutors. You said in a statement, if allowed to proceed, Trump's purge of our federal law enforcement workforce will expose America to authoritarianism and dictatorship. I mean, you are a constitutional law expert. You choose your words carefully. Talk to me more about your concern here and where you think this could land.
Well, the dictators always try to move in against the police to seize that function. If you look at what's happened, Trump pardoned 1,500 violent insurrectionists, Proud Boys, Oath Keepers, seditious conspiracists, people who attacked cops, violently assaulted officers. Then they appointed, as the U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia, a guy who organized the January 6th violent festivities and assault and protest against the peaceful transfer of power and has been an election denier. And now they're proceeding to sack prosecutors who were involved in prosecuting January 6th, even if they were assigned to it. It's not as if they volunteered for that. In a lot of cases, they were just assigned to do it. They're sacking them for having anything to do with it. And the attack on the FBI is extraordinary because for decades it really has been an apolitical operation. There are Republicans who work there, independents, Democrats. They've served all administrations. And now, just because they were assigned to work on the most massive attack on the U.S. Capitol in American history and to prosecute cop assaulters, they're being fired, they're being investigated. And so there's this mass purge taking place, obviously coming from the top. What they're overriding and what we're standing on in the first wave of this is the civil service protections that people have. Even at the FBI, people have to have a due process administrative hearing before they're fired. Nobody in the civil service can be fired because of political reasons. That's the whole reason we have a civil service. The civil service exists so people aren't fired for political reasons. And the only justification being given for any of these firings, whether we're talking about prosecutors, FBI agents, people in other agencies, is we feel like you can't get with the president's program. You can't serve him. Of course, they haven't been given a chance. So these are apolitical, professional civil service people. They've not been given the chance. They're just essentially accused of guilt by association for doing their jobs before. And that's an amazing thing. So it's a very dangerous moment for the American people because the professional independent civil service serves us. Mm-hmm. It's all of the laws and programs that Congress has adopted on behalf of the people, like Social Security, like Medicare, like the national parks, like the FBI itself, like prosecution. And suddenly they are trying to bring it directly under the control of the president for political purposes.
I just said in the opening, I mean, this is an ongoing story. There are amazing reporters reporting on it, but there is this list that is reportedly being created that could be made public of people who have worked on these prosecutions, investigated them in a variety of ways. Are you concerned about that list becoming public and a target being on the backs of these people as the January 6th insurrectionists were released?
Well, Enrique Tarrio, who's a leader of the Proud Boys, has posted online, I think this morning, the name of an FBI agent demanding her investigation and her arrest for various imaginary crimes he thinks that she has committed. So we're in a situation now where the pardoned criminals believe that they've got more power, and they're probably right, with the new government than FBI agents, than law enforcement officials, and then prosecutors. And they want a complete purge of the government to bring everybody directly under MAGA control.